I'm Christina. Welcome to the Revolver Fan First podcast. We have a very special edition of the show today. The Cavalera brothers, Max and Igor, joining us today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, hello. How are you, Christina?
I'm good. Life is good. It's early and I'm ready. And that's what's up.
That's cool.
Now,
good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. I'm always excited to see you guys. You're blowing out of the world, and now I can see you whenever, thanks to the internet, which is cool.
Yeah,
that's a vibe. So we asked the first question, the same question every time, and I want to ask each of you, which is, what is the first artist you put on a pedestal?
Oh, I'll let Igor go first. So give me time to think.
See how the older brother do it?
Yeah.
That's usually
Well,
a brand.
it's hard to tell, but I think the first one, and still one of my favorites to this day, is Bill Ward from Black Sabbath.
How did you come across them? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny story because my father had a bunch of records, and later me and Max, we going through his collection, we found the first Sabbath record in the middle of it. But that was after we were already into rock music, not so much metal, but more like rock. And then of course Sabbath became one of those bands that like still my favorite. I still listen to those first records, and Bill Ward it's one of those guys that inspired me in the beginning to play the drums, and also the way that he was always pushing the limits with different percussions, and he was out of the ordinary. So he was the one.
Definitely. Well, what do you think he did? What do you think was the most unique thing about Bill Ward?
I think the most unique thing is that in a time when a lot of drummers would just follow the guitars and try to be as I don't know, like very normal, he was trying different things and he was going off, and at times it seems like the whole band was actually trying to catch up with him. And for me, that was a huge lesson, because he put the drum in the front instead of just being like the typical drummer who will only follow a riff, only follow the bass line. He was actually throwing a few curveballs back there. And I think that's for me one thing that really made me look into him as a different drummer.
Yeah, totally. What have you found that, Max? Have you found him just going off on weird tangents and you're just like, okay, Igor, like, I guess you're not following the leader, like, woo?
Yeah, I mean, my funniest, one of the coolest memories of Igor was actually playing with Sabbath. I think it was Europe somewhere, and Bill actually let Igor sit behind him, and after the show, it gave him his bandana. And I remember Igor was freaking out, and of course he would. That's his idol, giving him a personal thing that he wore, a bandana. That's like, all right, I can die now. It's like that, one of those kind of feelings, man. And so what a great idol he picked, because he's such a good guy. He's a good-hearted guy. There's nothing worse than worshiping somebody and find out that the guy you've been worshiping is a total asshole. So that's really, really cool. He's just an awesome guy, really, really great heart, nice guy. And one time he met Zion and Igor, and he was telling them about drummers, like they should listen to some guys from the 50s, and I was like, oh shit, this is crazy, But that's a great pick.
Yeah, definitely. It's important. Where would we be without them? I don't know. Somewhere else.
And the whole thing about the fan thing, I think that's awesome, to be a fan. I'm still a fan today of many people.
This is why I thought you guys would be perfect for the show, because it's about being your whole life history as a fan, and I don't.
Yeah. I don't think some people lose that, but I'm sure Igor is very similar to me, was very much fans of of the music, you know, in general. And I get even kind of nerdy sometimes and bug some of the people I meet and asking them for a favorite 10 death metal albums, you know, and they're like, what are you talking about, man? You know, get really nerdy with your inner kid, your inner, you know, teenage kid that got that why you play metal in the first place. Was that just that pure love, you know, unadulterated love for metal? That's amazing. But yeah, it's great to be a fan. I think it's a cool thing. And then, you know, we are fans of other people and people are fans of us. So it's like I understand the psychic of a lot of fans. Like sometimes they meet us, they are very nervous or shaking. Some of them are even sometimes crying, freaking out. And you try to put them at easy. Hey man, it's all good. Come here, buddy. Give me a hug, man. You know. Yeah. So I understand that passion. You know, like having your main guys on your wall as a teenager, like we had in Brazil.
Well,
We have our guys on our walls. It was great.
Well, there's something pure of heart about metal fans because it just lives on without, you know, it just lives on. And okay, well, let's go back to you, Max. Who was the first artist you put in a pedestal?
Well, it all started with Queen, really. Basically, it was the first show we saw, and we kind of going back to the real early roots of because before Queen, I don't think we even like music that much. I like football. You know, me and Igor were big football fans, soccer as they call here in the States, but you know, like we didn't even like music that much. And then after we saw Queen it was like a life-changing experience watching that thing live in a stadium. It was mind-blowing. It was so good, you know. And we were rock and rollers overnight. You know, the next morning, me and Igor, we're rock and rollers. That's it. We're doomed. We are doomed. And you know, we went to the store and we bought cassette tapes of Queen Live Killers, and Igor bought Kiss Alive too. And those two bands were the beginning, you know. And then you go into this path finding more. You want to know more about other bands, and then it start getting heavier. Of course, that's just how it is. And then you got Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Motorhead, AC/DC, you know, Sabbath, of course. But by the time you go to Motorhead, yeah, then the shit's hitting the fans. Then it's like you're in it. You're in the trenches.
Did you find them in record stores or did you find them through tape trading and stuff? Like these metal bands, was this all accessible?
Do you remember, Igor, how you
yeah, I mean the big names that we're talking about, we could find them at certain shops in Brazil. And then of course, once you, like Max said, once you go after like Motorhead, and then you're going more and more underground, and that's where the whole tape trading started. But before that, when we were talking Sabbath, Queen, all the way to Motorhead, we could still go to a shop and find those records. And then, of course, once things got a little more obscure, that's when we would go crazy and you know, dub the same tape like 100 times until they sound like something else. And we even have a funny story that we had a tape, me and Max, of Haunting the Chapel from Slayer, and somehow I remember the guy recorded the tape in a wrong speed because it was a 45 record, and he recorded at 33. So me and Max were listening to Haunting the Chapel for all this time, like slower. They sounded like Venom. And then when we heard the actual thing, it was like, oh shit. So like those things that nowadays would be impossible with YouTube and
yeah.
At the tape times, even a demo from a certain band, you will hear it, and that tape, you know, sometimes it'll be so shitty that it sounds completely different than the original record. So we went through all those phases, you know.
What? Yeah, you go.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to once there was a store called Woodstock in Sao Paulo, and that's kind of became more the beginning of more the heavier underground stuff. You still couldn't afford the records because they were imported, but you could buy cassettes. So I remember we bought we bought our first Battery and Venom, and all the underground stuff we buy in cassettes. If you really like the record, then you save a lot of money and you buy the imported record, So I went through a phase. You remember, like, I like Van Halen a lot, and I like to get. I used to try to get a lot of Van Halen bootleg tapes. They sound like total dog shit, a lot of times recorded with the probably guy with a little cassette player at the show or something. I don't know how they, but you feel the live experience. You feel the real thing. This is how they really sound live. Like, because a lot of times some of the live records, they are a little bit overproduced or over polished. But when you get the bootleg tape, there's no overdubs. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, they re-record them all the time. They re-record live albums like a Once Upon a Time. Like it's kind of wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, but they sound really good.
That is true. Like that. I think it's one of those.
You can't complain about Unleashing the East, even though probably it's all overdub, but it's still fun. It's still a treasure, But yeah, but there's something really cool about the bootleg tape, though. I really, it's still today, I'm fascinated. And I think like the YouTube is maybe this generation bootleg tape where you watch a concert. Well, what I do sometimes is I don't watch the video, but I just listen to the audio. If I like a band, so I just put on YouTube and just put the headphones on and don't even watch the video, but just listen to the music. And that's really similar to the board tapes, the Van Halen bootleg tapes. And it's really cool to do that.
What's your favorite YouTube show to watch, or like live thing that you kind of revisit? Both of you.
I don't think I have one. I just like random. Yeah. I mean, there's one channel I really like. There's all these metal underground kids from Ohio. They do a show called Trolls of Metal.
Awesome.
And it's so cool because they're just huge. They're just fans of the metal. They curse, they talk, they're funny. They talk a lot of crazy shit. It's completely, it's almost like unprofessional would not be the right word, but it's just fun. It's fun to watch. And I end up getting super excited. I hit them up. I want to be on their show,
Awesome.
And so I called the label, and the label's like, wait, why Max wants to be on the show? Nobody watches the, it's like very underground. And it's like, that's why it's cool. I love it because it's pure. It's like, it's not a real big manufacturer thing.
Like this Evil magazine.
No, I mean, I watch a lot of the Revolver stuff. I think it's really cool. A lot of the especially the stuff with the Neurosis.
Yeah.
You guys did all those are really great. I'm talking more about
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Really, really overproduced stuff. But I love these kids, the Trolls of Metal guys. They're really cool. But a lot of times just go on and just watch live things that just happen, just watching live shows or whatever,
Yeah. How about you, Iggor?
I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff. Of course, the YouTube is it's almost like it's too much of a procrastination. You can go in and just spend hours and hours and just keep jumping from one thing to another. But then, of course, like once I hear a name of a band or a producer or a sound, I try to go on YouTube and see if they have anything rather than just what you can find on Spotify. So it's cool to see also how they deal with the live situation, because for me, that's kind of like what I call the test of fire. If someone can do it live, I think that's then it's real, because sometimes like Max said, there's so many gimmicks in the studio and things like that. that I'm still a huge fan of someone that goes out there and put themselves to the test of playing live, whatever it is, if it's one person band, if it's a huge band, or if it's something totally underground. But that's usually the kind of stuff that I like to see on YouTube.
Are you doing a project now with Neurosis? Absent Body? Yeah.
Actually, it's quite old.
Yeah.
We started doing this before the pandemic, like Scott from Neurosis and the guys from Mom and Rod, they hit me up to play some drums on this project. And I went to Belgium and did it. So it was like one of the last things I did with an actual going into the studio, not doing like a remote thing. And that was quite fun because I love those guys. Not only Neurosis, it's one of my favorites since the beginnings when they were just starting but also Amen Ra from the newer generation of they're killing it. I love those guys, and they're also the nicest people. So it's something that for me was very special to do the record with them.
Awesome. Well, it's great. It's great to meld minds and things. And I mean, Max, you've done a ridiculous list of collaborations. Like it's kind of absurd how many people you've done that. Who was the person you were the biggest fan of that was like more excellent than you could have imagined? Funnily enough, Cypress Hill actually said, we had Cypress Hill in here, and Be Real said, I can't meet our heroes because if they're assholes, we will beat them up. He's just like, I'm sorry, we're from the street. We're like, honestly, if they were rude to us, I don't care how much we like them, it would go down. So side note, carry on. Yes. Who was someone that you were a big fan of that, that kind of blew you away and when you actually did it?
I mean, I really always enjoy working with other people from back in the day. I think it started with even in the Sepultura days. It was the very early beginning is from my kind of hate of writing lyrics. I never liked to write lyrics. So I think it was on Beneath the Remains, I think it was Kelly Schaefer from Atheist. I asked him, can you write some lyrics? Because I gotta, have to finish this record. And so he ended up writing some stuff that we end up using it. And then the first one that was kind of like groundbreaking was Jello Biafra when we did Chaos A.D. And that was me and Igor's idea from being huge Dead Kennedys fans. I wish he would have done in the studio with him. That would have been the ultimate, Unfortunately, we couldn't do it like that. He ended up singing on his own and sent it to us. And that's before Pro Tools, before internet. So I'm not sure how Andy Wallace put his vocals. We had a tape of him doing a growl, a Godzilla growl, and I gave it to Andy, and Andy put it on the song. And then later I met Jello, and Jello was like, if I knew you were gonna put it on the record, I would have made a better growl. And I was like, no, but that's perfect, because that's like your pure growl on the demo. So it came from the demo. But yeah, so he wrote the lyrics of Biotech is Godzilla. I always loved Jello's like dark humor. And then from that on, we started like, let's get people and record it. So we got Mike Patton on Roots, which was great. And then Soulfly had a bunch of people. Just always, like, to me, it was never a competition. Music is never a competition. More like sharing with friends, like drinking good wine or something. Yeah. It's like you celebrate, and the more you do, the better. It's more. And I always curious to hear your favorite artist in a different setting, in a different sound. So that was the case with Tom Araya when we did Terrorist on Soulfly. It was cool to hear Tom's voice in a song that's not Slayer. It's like it does not sound like Slayer. It sounds more like my stuff. Yeah. But you get Tom's vocals in it. And then through the years, the cool thing about it is that I don't choose it by fame. I don't have a fame sensor. Oh, this guy is real famous. So it's more about the love that we have for the guy and how much he means to us. So like when we did with Cavalera Conspiracy, two names that come to mind is Roger from Agnostic Front.
Yeah.
You know, we did a song, and for me, it was huge for me and Igor because we're both huge New York hardcore fans. And then Justin from Godflesh. Those two guys it was really, really cool to be able to work with them. But yeah, I love projects. I do projects all the time. Killer BQ, Go Ahead and Die. Very happy for Igor for Absent in Body. It's really cool to see him doing other stuff as well. It's great. The more the better. Like there's no rule book in metal. We got in metal because there's no rules. So fuck the rules. We don't like rules. Nobody says you can have that many projects or you can work with this many people. Hell no. You do whatever you want, man. You know, you create your own rules, and that's the thing. Sometimes it bugs me. Some people think like that. They have that closed mind. Oh, why they don't just do their own, always the same thing, instead of like, I like the collaborations. I like to work with other people. And so that's probably what I do. And I learn a lot from other guys, which is great. You like, you know, being nerdy and asking them how they do their thing, and being in a studio with other musicians, really fun. And it's always learning. You never know enough. You're always learning something new, and it's really cool. And I think the fans is also cool that they get more music from you in different outlets. You know, many different things.
What about Chino from Deftones?
Always, all those guys are all like friends and people that I like. I like their music. You know. So the thing with Chino started with actually the beginning of Soulfly. I work on their record. I was invited by then. So by that time, this idea was actually growing. Other bands were doing that. So the Deftones called me up. I'm in their record. There's actually a funny story. When we were singing the song, it was like a live setting, both of us with microphones, and he hit his knee on his nose. And his nose exploded in a bloody nose, like a fountain of blood. There's blood in his face, and it's like an amazing scene. I'm like, yeah, this is live. This is the shit, you know. I don't see blood in the studio every day. This is fucking cool. And we didn't stop. We just kept going, you know. So that was really cool. But I love all the collaboration. Looking forward to do more of that.
It's exciting. Have you got any lined up?
A couple secret ones we can't say.
You're not going to drop that shit. Yeah. So you guys are doing Beneath the Remains and Chaos AD in full, like you did with Roots, right?
Beneath the Remains and Arise.
Arise, yes.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, Arise's birthday is tomorrow.
That's exciting. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about like what you were obsessed with, both of you, at that particular point in time.
I'm actually getting a candle, buying a cake tomorrow. We're gonna put the candles on the. No, I'm just kidding.
Good. Well, yeah. What were you obsessed? What were you? You know, how were you? What were you obsessed with at that moment in time? On that, like, say, like Beneath the Remains. You know, so you're 19, 20. You know, what were you obsessed with at that point?
I think there's a lot of cool stuff because if we speak about Beneath the Remains, it was for me like a very special way of translating a lot of ideas that we had, going from like death metal, black metal to something a little more thrash. I think that was like a cool time to experiment with those sounds, you know, especially for me as a drummer. I remember trying to do certain things that they were way more different than stuff that I did on Schizophrenia or even Morbid Visions. So it was a special time. Plus also the cool thing is that it was the first time that we worked with a producer that did a lot of stuff that we love, which was Scott Burns at the time. So I think all those things were very special to make Beneath the Remains such a groundbreaking record.
Yeah, the Beneath the Remains, the rawest of the raw. That's how I look at it, because everything about that record is as raw as it gets. Even how it was recorded. We recorded at night. We couldn't afford the studio during the day, so it was recorded at nighttime. So it's a nocturnal record. So it's only It's the only nocturnal record I've done, actually, that we've done. And there's something about that, I don't know, that makes it really raw and I don't know, like really exciting, you know. And it was not by choice, it was by force. It was, you know, if it was by choice, we would have recorded during the day. And I always joke, like, one of these days I'm gonna make another nocturnal record. I'm just gonna record at night again, see what happens. But that's I love when you talk to people in the industry, like producers, and they mention Beneath the Remains, like Arthur Risk, our producer for Cavalera. I remember, you know, he was telling a story. He was with some band recording, and he wanted to motivate them. And one of the guys, he asked them, "Do you guys want some shit to motivate it?" One of the guys, I think, said, "Yeah, let's put some Slayer on." And Arthur's like, "No. I'm gonna put Beneath the Remains on. This is the real, the real motivator type shit, you know." And I guess it kicked their asses and made them very excited. It's cool to hear the story that these records has made such an impact in the metal world, you know. And the other thing that's cool too, the reason why we're doing and that's kind of cool is that what my son Igor just went to see a Bjorn that used to play for Chaos. And in the end of the set, he said something that Igor told me that really stuck with me. That's so true. He goes, I'm gonna play 2 Chaos songs that I'm no longer with Chaos, but I'm gonna play because not to remember of the past, but because it's fun, you know. And it's like that's really cool, because it is exactly why we do these tours, because they're fun. Those songs are fun to play. People love it. People are still very, very much mystified by these records, and it's just pure fun to get out there and bash out those old tracks they're being, you know, developed through the years. Some of them are in people's DNA, you know. They've been listening to them for so long.
And you feel like a teenager again. Like if when you can't break the emotional relationship people have to those songs. Like when I went to the Roots tour, I'm like 13. Like it was awesome. Like you can't break that. It's part of our lives. Like you can't can't take that away. And wherever things are now, like it's really beautiful to be able to bring that.
Oh yeah. And I totally agree with that statement. It's not that we're trying to relive our past, because you're never really gonna fully be able to do that. But it's just fucking fun. It's just feels great to me as a writer, singer, to get to do this with Igor now in this stage of our career, after going through so much shit through all these years, you know. We're actually in a position where we can just enjoy and just feel the joy of the music. And this tour, because we put the 2 records together, it's so cool, because there are 2 very unique but very connected records. I think out of the whole discography, Arise and Beneath the Remains are almost like one record. It's like a double album. And when you put them together, it's a real powerhouse. And we already experimented this tour in Europe and in South America, and people went ape shit. So I think it'll be the same here in the States. I'm very, very excited for this tour. You know, so, and it's just great to play with Igor, to feel the vibes, hang out with him in the bus, talk music, talk what he's listened to, what he's been reading. You know, we always had this connection since we were kids, and it continues, and that's great. I look forward to those things. You know, it's like it makes life fun, and it's exciting. You know.
Yeah, I'm glad you came back together. It's important. I'm glad, you know, and to do this. Yeah. Well, how about you, Igor? Like, what is it like, kind of revisiting these songs, Rise? Yeah.
I mean, like Max said, you know, it's really deep into the fun part of it. Of course, like we come to an age now that we eliminate all the drama, and that's something that I did a few years back when I connected back to Max. I promised myself that I would only play music with people that I love. I wasn't going to do for money. I wasn't going to do for any other reason than, really connecting in a deeper level. So to do these tours, for me, they're so special. Like Max has said, we have such an important exchange of ideas, me and him, since we're little kids. We're even like those, we used to exchange those ideas even like with football and things like that. And nowadays we do through music, through art, through movies that we see, through books that we read. So all those things very connect us, And then of course, like, I love to play those songs, like they're really strong. They're like a bit of a kick in my ass because they're like super fast. So I have to get ready for this, like there's a lot of preparation for this, which I remember the last tour we did in Europe. It feels amazing because once, we get tight within each other, it's like, it's so much fun because it like, those records are very strong. They have a lot of different ideas at the time, but also I think they have a connection between the two of them where I think different than a lot of albums, we went full crazy into creating something new.
Yes.
So I think those records, they still have a lot of like resonance back and forth,
They stand the test of time. Like I was listening to them last night. I'm just like, it still sounds really fresh and interesting. And what I like about, like, you both have very unique things. Like, you've got all this force with drums, but you've always got swing. And I love drums with swing. Like it's like grindcore. I don't think you can have good grindcore without swing. You can't, like it's fun. And, you can headbang to it. And, Max, you've got that delivery. It's just that intense delivery. What do you love the most about each other? Standing next to each other, growing up together. What do you think that you each bring to the table, to the world of music that no one else does? Just a nice small question.
Yeah, I mean, to me, one of the cool things, and I wish that because it's a feeling, so it's really hard to explain to people feelings, but hanging out with Igor after a show, like let's say an example, we just played Chile. There was 4,000 metalheads going totally nuts. We played the whole set. We are totally drenched, tired, totally. You gave it all. It's like end of the game. We won. And we are sweaty in the front of the tour bus. And as I said, that moment, I wish you could buy that moment, and you can, use it when you feel like, when you're down, when you're feeling, not too excited, and I could just like drink that moment and be back right at that moment, because that's such a good fucking moment in life. The great thing about that is that there are more of those coming, so it's not something that you look at it and you go, oh, those were only in those days. No, they're coming. We're gonna have a lot of these moments on this tour and next year when we do it again. And that's one of the things I look forward the most. The other thing is just the connection, like you say, just hanging out with him. Maybe we'd hit some record stores, go find some vinyl, go find some shirts, because we no matter how adult you get and how civilized you get, you never lose that teenage feeling of going to a record store, and geek out. Oh God, did you get the bow thrower shirt? Oh yeah, fuck, I got it, I found it, man. So I look forward to do that with him, and talk about other stuff. And like I say, we eliminated a lot of the negative drama, and we just go on the road and enjoy. And we take it very serious, of course. Like you said, it's a lot of preparation to play these songs. They're not easy songs. They're hard as fuck to play, to do them justice. You got to play them right. But we're up to the task, and so I really, really enjoy. I'm actually already so psyched to go on tour. I'm at home and I'm like, let's go. It cannot arrive any sooner. I'm ready to go right now, but you have to wait. But so it's the whole thing, so it's a little short. It's like 5 weeks. I wish it was a longer. I'm a fan of longer tours. I like tours that go to 2 months. On the first month, by the seventh week, you really wanted to cue everybody around you for stepping on your toe. Oh, you stepping on my toe, motherfucker! You're gonna die. You know, I like the trenches.
Max, you're a straight.
I like the trenches, man. You know, going and getting in the trenches and see how it is. Old school, the old school mentality.
Indeed. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think, Iggor? What do you think Max does that no one else does?
I mean, something that I would like to mention that, I mean, a lot of people know this, but it's really special, a connection that we have when we play music. It's like I have this connection with pretty much no one. You know, even by stepping on stage with Max, we do things, or even in the studio, we don't need to say certain things to each other. We just feel it, and we bounce those things back and forth. And that's something, like Max has said, that it's very difficult to explain in words, this connection that we have. It is a brotherhood thing. It is something beyond. It might even be ancestral from other lives that we did different things together. But I think it's something that it's so special to step on stage. I even know how many Red Bulls Max had before the show, how fast I'm going, and it's the other way around. He knows if I went a bit too crazy before the show, with like how many coffees I had or Red Bulls. So all those things are so much fun because it is a connection, and it goes way beyond trying to explain this. It's very deep, and it's very spiritual in a way, which is, again, something that I miss dearly. You know, when I'm home, I miss those moments, but also I look forward to do those moments at the right time, and not overdo it, and do it when it's right, when it feels right, you know.
When did you first connect to music and power? I don't know if this is too esoteric, but I'm just
no. I mean, for me, it comes way back when I was like 5-6 years old, and going to see football matches with Max and my father, and they always have the guys playing drums on the stadium. And for me, I remember this being like a connection that it was like beyond, like if we said, we're not even into music at that time. I didn't buy any records. It was just the sound of the drums. It was something that it was tribal. It really spoke very high to me. And I think that was my first love with music. It was even before listening to a record. It was just by feeling the drums from samba rhythms, from the African Brazilian rhythms. And that for me was like strong enough for me to wanted to be a drummer at that time.
Wow. How did you kind of forge this relationship with other how do you put it, other cultural drumming, other percussions of other cultures and all that sort of stuff? Obviously you did the, you know, roots with the Xavante tribe in the Amazon, pretty amazing moment. But yeah, like how did you guys, because, you know, you've embraced rock and roll and heavy metal culture. You definitely learned the language, you know, you had bought all the, you know, you absorbed yourself into that culture. What about these other cultures? Because they're obviously a big part of what made Sepultura so unique. These other explorations.
Definitely. I mean, for me, it was about showing, you know, and that's why I think the album Roots is so special, because it was about digging as deep as we could in our roots. And of course, the Xavante tribe, they are like the deepest roots you can find in Brazil, you know, like the natives. And I think also the beauty goes all over the world, you know, with natives. You know, if you talk about Australia, like you have such a rich culture with Aboriginal. And if you go, of course, to Africa, to South America, to America, and here in Europe, there's so many layers of people who were here way before us. And I think that all of that really fascinates me as a drummer, because I think all those primal rhythms, they're very special. And I try to do a lot of research on that, so it keeps my ideas always going, you know. And it's not, I don't keep with just the Brazilian thing. I think it's a thing all over the world, you know.
Yeah, global connection sort of thing.
Yes.
It's important. What? Okay. Actually, yes. Music and power, Iggor. When did you connect them?
I think it's when once you hit the stage, you know. For me, that's when music and power I think it's like throwing gasoline into a fire.
Yeah.
That's the explosion. You know, it's like when you hit the stage, because of course, when you're in the studio, there is certain magic. When you're rehearsing, there is, but when you're playing live, that connection that you have between who's playing with you and the audience, for me, that's the when music and power gets translated in my view, at least, you know.
I agree with that. I mean, like, I think we always had this thing though, like what Igor said is a bit hard to explain to people, but when me and him are together, even just the two of us, like just jamming, there's a certain electricity that happens. There's a certain vibe that connects us, and a lot of time it's like it's a strange thing. It's like we demand from each other without saying that you're demanding, but you're expecting that, and it's vice versa, you know. And we feed off that. We feed off the energy. I'm feeding off what Igor is giving on the drums, you know. And I remember, and this is really cool because this goes back to the early days, where Igor even didn't have a drum kit. And for many years, the early stuff, he didn't have his own drum kit, and he would play on other people's drum kit. And I remember we used to do these shows in Brazil, and we play with a bunch of bands, and everybody would use the same drum kit. But Igor was the only one that made that drum kit sound like thunder. You know, nobody else could do that, you know. And I was like, yeah, that's my drummer, motherfuckers, you know. He can do that. You guys can't do that, you know. We got the secret weapon.
Yeah.
At the same time, maybe I think we Igor always feed off the stuff I have to say on the lyrics, on the vocals, trying to find those hook songs, all the stuff that we do together all the time. And it's been just an incredible journey. Another thing is worth mentioning. We're kind of like a riot magnet, me and him. For some reason, when we're together, shit goes down. Fire, people set shit on fire, and there's a lot of fights. I don't know what it is. People are just, it's like, you go see Max and Igor, there's a license to lose your shit. You know, you're entitled to lose your shit tonight. It's okay, because you're gonna go watch Max and Igor, and it does happen, man. And it's just part of the energy, and I think it's part of the metal essence. You can't lose that, because I think if you lose that, that's when it becomes plastic, fake, and that thing that we don't want. We like it like this, a little bit dangerous with the element. You go to the show, you don't know if you're gonna go back, all in one piece. But yeah, it's exciting, you know. And there's something that happened when mostly when me and Igor, like all the other musicians I play with, my other bands, I don't have this riot thing with them. I do it with Igor though. So it's always look forward to playing with him, because it's always something's gonna go down. Exciting is gonna go down, and that's always fun.
You remember the first time that happened?
Oh yeah, I think our first show, because it was like, you know, we show up, the guitar player didn't show up, my shit was all out of tune. There was like 20 people at the bar, 2 guys with Motorhead shirts. Those are the only 2 guys that liked us. And everybody else thought we were total fucking dog shit. This is horrible. I even remember people like, I think you guys should choose another career, you know, like telling you hints of, you should do something else with your life, man. You know, you're not cut out for this. And but we're like, there was something about that adrenaline when you hit that stage. That's the purest form of it. That's like, you just don't know what's gonna happen. And there's like videos of this stuff. I'm saying weird shit in the mind. It's almost like it's a possession. You become possessed. You know, you go into some kind of trance. You become possessed with the music, and you do things that you normally wouldn't do. That's why a lot of people that meet us after shows, they're like, oh, you guys are so mellow, so normal. When you hit the stage, you're like beasts, you know, you're like, you know, like a transformation. And I think that's very uniquely metal. That's a metal thing, this transformation, this possession that happens. And I like that. I like that because, you know, it's something that happens. Don't understand. I don't know why it happens. I just know that does happen. And I'm not interested in understanding either. I don't care to understand. It goes the same with my vocals. Like people ask about my vocals all the time. And I never, ever had the slightly curiosity to find out why my vocals are the way they are. I don't want to know. I don't want to find out how it is. I just know it does it. It does this thing. And it's okay by me, you know. I don't want to, it's like if I find out the secret, it's gonna ruin it.
There's a mystery. What's a song, an early song of yours that transforms you and takes you back to that time the most, like dramatically, like your favorite one that just, you're like 20 years old again, like,
good question.
For me, I think one of the songs that really does this, because it also stood the test of time, it's Troops of Doom. It's a song that we wrote way back, and for some reason it just keeps every gig we do, I feel like we need to play that song, because I think also it has such a unique way of construction. It goes from slow to fast. There's all these elements in it. And I remember it's probably like the first song that we did that I felt like, wow, this is a complete song. You know, where all the other stuff we would have like a song like Antichrist, which is like just full on fast. And then once we wrote Troops of Doom, of course, they were a lot influenced by Hellhammer and Celtic Frost. And I remember looking back and thinking like, wow, this is a proper song. There's like all this different dynamics in it. And that for me, that's the song that it hits me, where I remember writing lyrics, me and my brother in our living room for this song, and drawings and doing shirts and things like that. So that song brings me the whole thing, almost like a acid flashback.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to mention two for me that does the same kind of thing. And one of them is Inner Self. And that's on Beneath the Remains. Yeah. And that's such an important song for us because it was the first video we ever made. And it was all homemade, really a lot of really goofy stuff, like having a friend of ours skateboards on top of us and hanging out with bums on the street, drinking pure alcohol. All those scenes are in this video, you know. But it was cool. It felt like a real, the real thing. We're doing a real band thing. We're doing a video. Oh my God, this is insane, you know. And the song itself, I love it. I love the tempo. I love the groove of it. The riff is so simple, it's almost childish. It's kind of like Pantera Walk. It's got that groove, you know, that catches you right away. And the lyrics, I always love the lyrics, you know. It's out there almost like a page of a diary. I never had a diary in my life, but if I had one, that could have been on a diary page, you know, walking in these dirty streets with hate in my mind, feeling scorn of the world. I won't follow your rules. That's diary shit. It's like how I was feeling at that moment, at that time in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That's Max Cavalera feeling, my teenage feeling at that time. And then the other one is Arise. And Arise is just an explosion. To me, is the ultimate death thrash song ever made. And I'm sorry, might pissed off some people out there, but come on, listen to this fucking song. It's got everything. It's just a fucking rager, is what we call it in the business. It's a rager.
It's good today, man. It's good. You made a contribution. I have a question. That weird melodic outro on Stronger Than Hate that just kind of stands out quite. Whose idea was that? You know, no, fine.
I don't know.
Which one?
It was worth a shot. It's kind of a good. Yeah, it's fine. Let's move on. Okay. 5 songs that changed your life.
Oh,
Yeah, you can pick who goes first.
All right, I can start with.
that's like you know, choosing kids, man.
Yep, you got to choose. You
Can't do that.
Well,
You can't do that to us.
can. It'll come to you. Weird things come to you. That's what's mystical about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to pick 5, and I know I'm gonna kick myself from forgetting a lot of them, but let me see. I'll start with Discharge, with Hear Nothing See. For me, that's like in my DNA. That's probably like one of the best sounding records of all times, and that changed my life when we heard that record. I remember me and Max listening to again a tape from this, and just thinking that was like probably the most extreme thing we heard in a long time. So Discharge is definitely one of them. And then I'm gonna jump into, of course, the first Black Sabbath, the song Black Sabbath itself. It's almost like watching a movie. It's so cinematic. It's insane. You know, like just Oz's, you know, his lyrics and the voice. He's almost like he's narrating something that it's happening. And then Bill Ward with some really amazing drum work, and yeah, the whole thing. So those 2 definitely, they're game changers for me. And then, oh man, that's a tough one.
It is.
I mean, I can also put in there something Brazilian, which is Chico Science and Nação Zumbi, which is like this Brazilian band that in the 90s did a lot of amazing stuff, and they were mixing up almost like a psychedelic way of doing some Brazilian percussive music with like Jimi Hendrix guitars and things like that. So that's another one that I'll throw in my top 5. And then of course I have to put in there the Cro-Mags,
Yeah.
which, you know, like they're one of my favorite of all times. So yeah, the Age of Quarrel, it's insane. It's such a great record, insane drumming. So yeah, I'm in my top 4, right?
Yeah, you got one more, I think.
Okay, so I'll put in there something even more weird, which is Aphex Twin, which is one of my favorites artists of all times. Like he's a pure genius, and yeah, Come to Daddy. So those are my top 5 out of my head. Of course, like I said,
oh yeah,
I'm gonna kick myself from not including other shit, but this is what came up when I just brainstormed for a second.
That's kind of what it's designed. Okay, just briefly, electronic music. How the hell did you find electronic music? So Max, you're getting extra thinking time. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You've done a bunch of electronic music stuff, and you know, like, and it's really interesting stuff, and you know, and stuff with your wife.
I love electronic music. You know, like all the way from early industrial stuff like Ministry, or even before that, Throbbing Gristle and all that stuff. I remember watching Neubauten, this band from Germany, with Max. We were in Holland watching them playing a construction site. So industrial music, it's something that I love, like the noise and all the crazy ideas of making music that it's not the typical just bass, guitars, drums, vocals. Like there's more elements like sampling and things like that. So that's what attracts me. It's the freedom.
Yeah, because there is a lot of. How about you, Max? Actually, on electronic music, before we get to your songs.
I'm not as big as fan as Igor, and have not been involved as much as he has. He's got a lot more experience playing with Soulx and things like that. But yeah, of course, you know, I appreciate. I think it's great, and I think it's amazing. Some people that can turn, I guess, a studio soundboard into an instrument. You know, It's great. It's great to see, and I think there's a real value in that.
Okay.
Of course, my heart is in the rock and roll. I like musicians real playing. You know, I would never choose a drum machine over Igor or something like that. You know, but there is value in stuff like that. I mean, when you listen to me, one of the favorite things I might even pick as one of the songs, it's like Prodigy. You know, Prodigy was a huge influence. We got to play with them a couple times, and I think Liam, the song, he's amazing. Like all the beats that he does, it's so cool. It's so, I actually tried to imitate when I've made Eye for an Eye. It's actually from a Prodigy beat. I was trying to emulate Firestarter or Breathe or one of those electronic beats, but I wanted a drummer to really do it. But I love a lot of the Prodigy material, especially Fat of the Land. I think that record itself, it's a fucking masterpiece of electronic stuff. I love that record entirely from beginning to the end. Is an amazing record.
So which song would you pick? Okay, we'll do your 5 songs now. Which Prodigy song would you pick?
Okay, well, I kind of go a little bit chronologically, I guess. So Black Sabbath and Symptom of the Universe will be my song. We got to cover that when we did Chaos A.D, and it was one of those covers that I was like sweating and trying not to fuck up, you know, like you're touching the gods here, you know, you're not just covering, you're covering something sacred. It's like, you're fucking with the sacred now. You cannot fuck up, you know? So, but the cool thing about it is that we made our own, you know? So the Sepultura version is very much the Sepultura version of Symptom of the Universe. You know, it was not just us just making a cover song, which I think that's the cool thing about a cover song, is when you can bring your imprint into that artist and put together. And I think that, but the song itself in its original form from Sabotage, second song on Sabotage, right after Hole in the Sky, that riff, goddamn Tony Iommi, I fucking hate you for writing that riff, because I wish I could write that riff. And it's one of those very envious things, like, oh man, I wish I could write that riff. So I got to play it. I got to cover. So I went as close as that. But yeah, so I started with that, and then second one, we got to go back to the origins of the black metal thing with us. It'd be Hellhammer, Massacra, just pure ugly music for ugly people. It's great. You know, it's just raw, no solos, just fucking caveman. You know, it's coming out of a cave. I think it was recorded in a cave in Switzerland.
Awesome.
It's fucking great. Even today, sounds fucking great. You put it on, it's amazing. And then I think third one, I have to go with the AC/DC. Yeah. Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Which we cover when we play Australia. Again, we did. It's one of those songs that I hope one day we get to actually go in the studio and really record it.
That'd be sick.
Because the version was cool. It had a fast part in it that is not on the original. So it's very similar to what we did with Symptom.
Yeah.
But AC/DC, is always the rebellious tattoos and the early, you know, I remember we went to watch the AC/DC movie in a movie theater in Sao Paulo, me and Igor. And it was like, those motherfuckers look crazy, man. Fucking Bon Scott with the fucked up pants with holes in his pants.
Yeah. You're just aggressive balls. You're just like,
it's like, it's so good. Yeah. It's so raw, right? And they always be raw, man. AC/DC is just raw as fuck. I love it. They never strayed from the path. And then I have to throw Ace of Spades, of course. That's an anthem. That's the loser anthem of all time. If you're born loser metalhead, this is the song for you. This is it. And we got to cover that during the Roots tour also. It's an amazing song.
Yeah.
I don't know much about gambling. I don't play cards, but I guess that's where Lemmy got the idea for the song. But the rhythm, yes, it's like it's as rebel as it gets. You know, and you look at the Motorhead album, you were scared of them. You're like, oh, I hope I don't cross with those motherfuckers tonight on an empty street somewhere, you know, because they look menacing. They mean business. Yeah. Those are some serious guys, you know, and metal as fuck.
Yeah.
I think the last song I played, this is going to be my different one, my unexpected one. And so it'd be Link Ray. And Link Ray, I'm a big fan of Link Ray. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's a American guitar player, kind of surf music. And he wrote a song called Rumble. And Rumble is the first instrumental that was banned because it incited riots in America.
Awesome.
In the 60s. So they banned the instrumental. How crazy is that? There was a fucking ban on the song. The guy couldn't play the song. It's very famous in a bunch of Tarantino movies. It's just the riff. Dan, dan, dan. It's like iconic 3 chords, because that's really all you need. 3 good chords and an attitude, and you go far with that. So yeah, and I love that Link Ray is also Native American. He's you know, he's Comanche or something from here, from the States. And I always loved that about him. Unfortunately, he passed away. But that song and the story behind being the first instrumental band made it for me. It's like, yes, I'm sold on it, man. This is killer. I love this. I love this guy. I love this stuff. And I actually got to know a lot of his catalog and a lot of the music. It's not metal. It's kind of rockabilly surf music, but it's really cool. He's definitely a legend.
But it causes riots. That's awesome. I support that.
Great, right? And it's instrumental. Like,
I don't want to.
How can you ban an instrumental? I wish we could do an instrumental and get banned. That's fucking the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of any musician.
How do you even get banned now? I guess you no. You can't get banned.
You get canceled.
You get banned by whatever you say off stage. That's how you get. They don't get it over music, just what you say over here.
Yeah, you get canceled now.
You get canceled. You don't get, they don't even look at the music anymore. They're like, art smart.
It's whatever you say, you know, that's what it goes down
to. It's ridiculous. Okay, final question. Your musical Mount Rushmore, if you had 4 faces carved into stone that they were your dudes, who would they be? I'm going to get these carved. I want to get them done at Dollywood. I feel like Dolly Parton would let us take like some weird place with a bunch of stone, and she just let us do that. I don't know whether that's true, but
how many guys are?
Yeah, 4.
4 guys.
4.
4 guys.
I got told quite often that there is 4, not 5. I learned that from the YouTube comment section. Yeah, there's not 5. There's 4. Yeah,
it's 4. It's 4. All right, I'll let Igor take the time to think about this one. I'll go first. So my 4 will be, this is gonna be kind of it'll be a little of a wild list. So on drums it'll be Newport. So Newport definitely be cool. On vocal and guitar, Bob Marley.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Molly.
Okay, on lead guitar, Eddie Van Halen, and then on bass, Sid Vicious. There you go. Couldn't play for shit.
But had an attitude.
Yeah, an attitude, so that counts.
Attitude. Yeah, I would like that. I want to visit that. I will visit that as a monument. How about you? How about you, Iggor?
I don't know if you put those 4 together, nothing probably would have happened, but you know, maybe fights. Maybe fights.
They're all alive at some point, I think. Yeah.
In the 70s, probably.
Yeah, in the 70s. You get them then. Yeah. You probably need a lot of weed and a lot of.
Would have been wild.
Yeah. Anyway, side note. Yeah. You're up, Iggor.
Oh man, so yeah, I'm gonna try to do the same as Max, which is like not only the four, but as a band.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier to compile. So probably singer, in my opinion, would be Jello Biafra,
Nice.
because like I said before, like the way he writes his lyrics, but also the way that he present himself it's also again very cinematic. It's almost like you're watching what's going down when he's singing, when he's putting his lyrics. It's very theatrical in a way, but in a punk rock way. So I would be Jello, and then guitar. I think we spoke here before. Tony Iommi, of course, the Iron Man. You know, he's probably the guy who wrote some of the best riffs ever. And yeah, bass. Let me see. Of course, Lemmy.
Yeah, Lemmy has to be in there.
Yeah. I mean, not only like him as a person itself. You know, we had the pleasure of doing many tours with Motorhead and hanging out with Lemmy. I even have a book that it's a funny story. I was like drawing Lemmy everywhere when we did this tour. Even Filthy Animal was on drums, and then at the end of that tour, Lemmy gave me one of his book because he thought it was I had a good sense of humor from drawing his face everywhere. So I have one of his biographies signed by him to me as a Christmas gift.
That's cute.
Wait.
Yeah.
Igor have to explain that because some people don't know. He's an amazing characterist. Character. How you call that?
Caricaturist.
Characteristic.
Yeah.
Characteristic. Yeah,
Really?
my fucking accent. Amazing. Like to the point of making people mad. He has actually made my roadie mad because my roadie did not like what he made of him.
Yeah, because of course, like a caricature is when you exaggerate certain things.
Yeah.
And some people are not so much fan of this. So yeah, so I made a lot of people mad when I drew them faces or whatever.
Oh, it's great. I love it. I always loved it. It was always spot on. Like the thing that people like, yeah, this is what this guy looks like, or the habit that he does. And Igor, so I can just imagine the Lemmy one with the fucking thing on his nose and fucking. So that's like that's the backstory.
Yeah. Luckily he wasn't mad, so he was cool with it. So he gave me a book. So yeah, Lemmy would be one of them. And then on drums, that's hard. I have so many amazing drummers that I love, but I'll have to put Stuart Copeland.
Wow.
Yeah, you're not going with Charlie Watts, huh?
Yeah.
No, not this time.
Igor used to have Charlie Watts on his drums.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Stuart Copeland, because not only him as one of the craziest drummers as far as like energy goes, but I also love the fact that he's such a creative person. He does a lot of soundtrack for movies and score for orchestras and things like that. So yeah, so those are my four.
Those are some solid musicians. Like, it's interesting how much of an impact people could make even years and years and years after they die. Or, you know, like how, yeah. What, I mean, you guys have had people follow you for a long time. And, you know, you think about like, you know, like Sepultura fans, like Metallica fans, Pantera fans, a lot of bands that kind of maintained a lot of popularity in like the 90s and 2000s in particular. What do you think was unique about Sepultura fans as compared to, say, some of the other groups? What do you think the kind of people who were drawn to you? I don't know whether that's a bit too random, but yeah. I don't know. You're a certain kind of people.
I think, in my opinion, I think there's a loyalty thing to it, which is very important. And that's one of the reasons that we called those fans more like a tribe, because there was a certain loyalty, and that goes for metal, of course, but also for the fans, that the stuff that me and Max wrote in those days. I think, you know, there's a lot of that loyalty where they really feel like they're part of your army somehow, or your legion, or whatever we can call it, you know, a tribe, legion, army, but they feel part of it. And for us, that's very important, because it was not about numbers. It wasn't about selling millions. It was about having this connection with them and make them feel like they're a part of the same thing that we were doing.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I also think where we're from plays a big part. We are like the first, I guess, third world band to become, you know, Brazil was considered third world back in those days. And so we really connected to a lot of the more oppressed places in the world. So when we tour Eastern Europe, they will go nuts because they felt like they're one of us, you know. You came, I understand you because you are me, you know. We know each other. It's not like some rich kid from California that made a band. It's this fucking fucked up guy from Brazil that had to fight through all the kind of shit, you know. So he came out the hard way, you know. We came the hard way. We had to fight against, you know, poverty, money, class, all that shit to get to where we are. So, and I think a lot of fans connect to that, and yeah, a lot of loyalty. You know, that's a huge part of it. And the cool thing about metal fans, they're not like pop fans. Like a lot of times pop fans are fans of you 1 month, the next month they don't care about you anymore. You're done. You know, it's like you move on to something else. Metal fans are like kind of like for life. You know, it's like mafia. You get in, you can't get out. You know, that's it. You're in for life. Like you sold your soul to this music. And we see a lot of the same fans. I still, you know, touring all the time. Sometimes I see guys that were there in the Sepultura days, you know, and they're like, I look at them like, yeah, we're all getting old in this thing, man. But it's cool to see you still here and you're still loving it, you know. But yeah, I think the connection with a lot of the poor countries really come through. Even when we play like New York and LA, you see all the kind of like in LA, all the Latinos come to the show, the gang guys, you know. So it's cool. It's cool to see that. There's something about it. There's some anarchy related, don't give a fuck attitude thing that they like, that they connect to it, you know. And they connected more with us when we were in Sepultura. They still connected with me and Iggor. And you know, the loyalty thing is that's kind of like that, because yeah, there is still a Sepultura out there, but ain't the same thing. It's not the same as it was, you know. So it's kind of like, and that's kind of like why we do these tours, is to pay homage to those records. And this is the closest you're gonna get to that time, you know. But yeah, you know, I think I love the metal fan spirit, man. It's great, you know. It's really, you know, a lot of them really feel it, like the music can really help them get through life, and that's the one thing that they really have. Like I always say, like back when I was in Sepultura, I used to say music is my weapon, and it is. It becomes, you know, you just gotta. If you let it, it will become a weapon. You use it, you know, and you have a stronger life with metal, I think, than if I had chosen a different thing to do with my life. I would have never had the experience that I had. So I'm glad I chose music with the right people, you know. So it's been a great journey, man. It's been fantastic.
I'm glad you chose it too. It's good. It is a weapon. Do you think music is a weapon, Iggor? That's our final question.
Yeah. I mean, I learned how to use this weapon when I was very young, and I think it's, you know, like Max mentioned, a lot of our friends at that time who chose different paths, they're not even here now to tell the story. You know, like we chose music, we chose metal, and you know, and I think it is a weapon, and it's something that I can use almost like a therapy as well. You know, like when I'm bummed out, I can either play some music or I can listen to other records from other bands. Even during this pandemic, a lot of music helped me out a lot to go through certain depressions and things that we all, you know, we all live in this roller coaster. So music was very important for me.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Cavalera brothers. Thank you for joining us for this Revolver Fan First podcast. Thanks for watching, everyone. It's been a delight to have you all. So
Thanks
for having us.
Yeah.
May your day be most triumphant, people out there in the world, and you guys also.